Hello everyone, my name is Abby and I'm the young adult assistant for the Twin Lakes Library System and I use she, her pronouns. So for today, for Slice of Life, I wanted to do a follow-up to my video that I recommended some K-dramas and recommend some more. I actually have watched a bunch with my sister recently and I just have some more that I finished that I think are really good and I wanted to introduce. These again are all ones that I would say are pretty good introductions into K-dramas, maybe with the exception of the last one, but the last one is actually the first one I ever got my sister to watch with me and she loved it, so I thought I would recommend it. I also enjoyed it, but the plot's a little interesting, so most people, I don't know if that would be their first grab. But anyways, I'm just going to go ahead and get started. The first K-drama I watched is called True Beauty, and there's actually a webtoon webcomic that this is originally based off of, so you can read the webcomic and you can watch the show. But the show follows an 18-year-old girl who isn't traditionally viewed as very pretty in her, she's very heavily bullied for it. And her peers are really cruel to her. And then one day she starts watching makeup tutorials and she gets really good at making makeup and doing makeup, and right before she moves she's completely mastered it and she transfers to a new school. And at this new school she only ever wears makeup, so everyone's talking about how beautiful she is and they call her the goddess. But despite all of that, she's still really insecure about herself and she's worried that people will see her without her makeup and think she's ugly, which unfortunately she runs into her very handsome male classmate outside of school, and he sees her without makeup on. However, he does not think she is ugly and they form a really good relationship, and he is a lot more complex than she originally thought he would be. He doesn't want to be the big center of attention. He has a lot of tragic things that have happened in his life and he kind of just wants to be left alone. And that sort of leads into the secondary male character who used to be the male lead's friend, but they are not friends anymore because of something that's happened. But yeah, as the story goes on, the male lead and the female lead develop a relationship, probably a romantic one since it's a K-drama. I will say kind of trigger warnings for this is bullying, suicide, depression, stuff like that, just to be aware of it. But I think this is a good one to sort of talk about. Again, kind of like what I said with my ideas Gangnam Beauty, like unfair beauty standards and just how society reacts to people who are not the traditional mold of beauty. Honestly, I think she's very pretty even without makeup, so I'm not really sure why they're all so mean to her, but anyways. And I really like the dynamic that develops between the female lead and the male lead. I'm gonna try to pronounce her name. It's Jukum, I think, and then Suho is the male lead, and then Sojun is the secondary male lead, and so they have a friendship that all sort of develops, and it's really good, and there's a lot of really healthy growth in this one. It's also really funny. There's a secondary romance between the female lead's older sister and female lead's homeroom teacher. It's really cute, and I really liked that as a dynamic, and it added a good comedic relief in some of the more stressful moments of the show. But yeah, so that's the first one. The second one that I am going to recommend is Crash Landing on You, and if you sort of have followed the media a little bit, this one got very popular when it was first released. So this one follows our female lead, Yoon Seri. Her name's a little bit easier for me to say, so I'm going to attempt it. She is a South Korean heiress to a corporation called the Queen's Group that she has created. However, because she's so successful and her father really values her, she is kind of seen as a threat by her half elder brothers, and her stepmother doesn't really like her. Or, I wouldn't say stepmother, she's known her whole life, but they're not biologically related. So because of that, she's like stayed away, done her own company, done everything, and she's created this beauty company called Sari's Choice. And um, her father comes back after being in jail for some time, and he can't run the Queen's group anymore, and so he's trying to declare an heir. And he thinks that Sari is the most competent choice, so he wants to pick her. But before she can take over, she actually is in an accident with one of her products that she was testing, which is a paragliding suit. And there's a storm, and it sends her into North Korea. And, she has no idea what she's doing. And she's very scared and alone and worried that something bad is going to happen to her. But then she meets a North Korean captain, Captain Ri. He is in the military, and they form a relationship, and he tries to figure out how to get her back to South Korea without anyone knowing, and they fall in love. It's very sweet. I think this one is definitely good for older audiences, just because the characters are a little older, not because the content is too intense or anything, but it was really nice to see. I really enjoyed this one. I really liked the secondary romance that happens in the show. I think the main couple is great too. I love their dynamic. I think it's beautifully shot. It's one of the best shot shows I've ever seen. I love the side characters. There's like Captain Ri's unit in the military. They all know about Sari, and they become her friend, and it's really cute and really wholesome. My sister actually has been watching this and messaging me about it as she's been watching it, and she's like, I'm so invested. I want to make sure everybody turns out okay. So I think you can get really invested in these characters. Yeah. The third drama that I am going to be talking about is called My First Love. And I think this is a perfect drama to really start watching K-drama, especially if you like slice of life kind of shows or animes or mangas. This is a really good one. So this story follows 5 kind of young adults and their interactions with first love. So we follow our male lead is Yoon Taeho, and he is a college student, and he has a bunch of friends. So there's a college dropout, and a runaway friend, and his longtime childhood friend, and they all decide to move into his house because of various things that are happening in their lives. And so now they are all living together, and they sort of have to figure out a dynamic that works for them, and also grapple with first love. So this one's really good. I think it's a bit of a slower one. Not a lot really happens, but I don't think that's a disadvantage to it. I think that there's charm in sort of just following their first love stories. And I think this will be really good for a lot of people who are younger or young adults like myself. Like I talk about this all the time, but I just graduated college. And it was nice to see people who were sort of at that same stage of their life doing things and just seeing what they were doing. So I really liked that. Also, this isn't really anything to do with the content of the drama specifically, but K-dramas, if you have never watched them before, can tend to be pretty long. In terms of the episode lengths, they're usually only 16 episodes in one season, but in terms of episode lengths, they can be very long. But what I really liked about My First Love is the episodes were a variety of lengths just based on whatever narrative they were trying to tell that episode, and I really think that worked to the drama's advantage and enjoyed seeing that. So I liked that. I thought the male lead was a good male lead. I thought it was funny. I thought the dynamic between the 4 of them, I believe, was great. There's also a secondary male lead who comes in. He doesn't live in the house, but there creates kind of tension and a love triangle with that, which is interesting. I'm not a big love triangle fan, but I didn't hate this one. And this one actually has 2 seasons. So it's only 8 episodes each season, so it's still only 16 episodes, but it's a little more broken up, I think, which might help if you're like a season watcher. So yeah. And then the last one, this is the one that got my sister into K-dramas. And this follows our male lead, who is, I'm going to try to pronounce his name, Minkyu, who is the largest shareholder of a finance company. He's very handsome, he's very intelligent, but he lives alone and doesn't talk to people because he has an allergy to humans. And he doesn't want to tell anyone because he doesn't want anyone to see him differently. and so he lives alone. And then we also follow our female lead, who is Jaya, and she is an aspiring entrepreneur, and she works as a personal shopper while she's trying to fund her business. And one day her ex-boyfriend calls her out of the blue, and he is conveniently a world-renowned developer of android robots, and his latest creation is an android who looks exactly like Jaya. And unfortunately the robot breaks, and so it becomes a problem because Minkyu really wants the robot because he wants to train it and see if it works, because his company is what's financing the group that is making this robot. So Jaeha goes undercover as the robot, with the intention of fooling him until the actual robot is fixed, so they can get the money that they need, and they're going to give her money. So she accepts the offer and she starts doing this. And, you know, it's a K-drama, so they start to fall in love, obviously, which has its own sort of problems. This one I liked because this is 32 episodes long, but it's 30 minutes per episode. And I enjoyed that because it's honestly a lot faster for Watch to do it that way. And I think you can consume more because like different things are happening. But anyways, as I have said multiple times, liked the dynamic between the male and the female lead. I think that the stakes are really high in this one, which is interesting to see when you compare it to like My First Love, which is really small and like slice of life. This one's really intense. A lot of intense things happen. I think the angst is done really well. I think the romance is done really well. I like all the secondary characters. They're very sweet and lovable, and you want to root for them. I think that the male lead has a lot of growth over the show that's nice to see. So yeah, I enjoyed all of those. So those are some recommendations, and I will see you again next time.